Hey, I'm Rob at Rob Brooks Realty. This is Mandy's Brooke. Hey, Mandy.
Hey, how are you?
Doing good. Okay, so we run the property management along with Michael Gregg from our company for Rob Brooks Realty. Now, here's how we're going to do this. I want all of you who are watching to get a feel for what we do as property managers and how we take care of owners. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to ask Mandy a bunch of questions about how she takes care of things, and then she's going to ask me a bunch of questions about other things we do in the company. So, ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, good. So first question is, what do you do to get the property on the market?
Okay, so first we get professional photos taken.
Yeah.
Those are important.
Right.
We want those photos.
Uh-huh.
So we do that, and
Yeah.
then I market them on the MLS and our site, which is Buildium, and it goes out to hundreds of different sites.
Right. Right.
So it's out there.
Examples of some of the ones that it goes out to.
The main one, Zillow,
Yeah.
Rent.com, Apartments.com, I think.
Yeah, I heard of Realtor.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hits a whole bunch of different websites, of course, the main ones too. So then how many potential tenants contact on? Okay, so you've advertised it, and then the calls start coming in.
Yes.
Or emails, or what is it?
Both.
Okay.
I have a lot through Zillow, so email, and
Right.
a lot of calls also.
Right.
So I'm getting them all different directions, even text messages. So yes.
Okay. So how many comes on a property? Does it vary with
It
different
does.
properties?
It does. It varies, especially the location of the property. But I would say when it first hits the market, we get lots. Like I would say 10 to 12 maybe a day. So
Okay.
yes, a lot of calls.
Okay. So then your job is to field all those calls and make sure of, you're vetting them right then, right?
Right.
Because we have a
right.
thorough vetting process of, so it starts at the beginning. So tell us how
Yes.
how you vet them at the beginning.
Okay, so obviously introduce myself, tell them who I am, and basically give them some information on the property, and then kind of tell them our requirements to rent. And at that point, they kind of understand I may qualify, I may not, whatever, and then they decide at that point whether they want to set up a showing.
Okay.
I also ask for their email address so I can send them some more information, and that way they're a little more comfortable with it, along with our application, just kind of to see what process we go through.
Yeah. Okay. So the tenant who is bringing in 4 Doberman Pinschers, when you talk about the general requirements that we have for a property, they realize I might not be a good fit for this.
Right. Okay.
Yes. And then so there's other things as far as general credit things that we look for and other things. And so a
Yes.
lot of times either they will self-deselect,
Right.
or you might let them know it might not be a good fit for you.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
good.
Yes.
Yeah, and because we don't want people walking into your property, if you're the owner, if it's just clearly not a good fit. No need for them to come in and see what kind of house you have. Okay, so then oftentimes you're showing the property afterwards, right?
Yes. If they decide they want to go ahead and set up a showing, I work with their schedule, and we'll set up a time. I'll meet them there and let them in and walk through the property and kind of see if they're still interested at that point.
Okay, good. And so you're also, I remember, you're checking them out too. I mean,
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do they keep a clean car, right?
Right.
Right, yeah, so that can be kind of telling. They're looking at the property, you're looking at them.
Yes.
Now, I have a question. I'm going to digress a little bit. We'll come back to the vetting process, but how many of the people who actually end up renting property must take a look at it first? In other words, sometimes they're out of town, they're military or whatever, and so sometimes they make a lease decision without ever walking into the property. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes. I try to do a thorough FaceTime with them,
Right.
or lots of pictures. We don't love doing that,
Right,
Because
right.
you really need to get the feel of the home yourself.
And they don't either, I'm
right,
sure.
Right. But there
Yeah.
are circumstances that you just have to, and I understand that.
Right.
So we try to do the best we can as far as a walkthrough with them,
Yeah.
on FaceTime.
And so, and sometimes, and while we don't get excited about doing it that way, and they don't either. Sometimes it just has to be that way. They're in the military and they are moving here and they can't get here to check things out ahead of time. Okay, we understand that. And we have, where you're doing the FaceTime, we also have 3D tours. So the 3D tours gives them an idea of, is this, they can walk through the house at their leisure, I guess, through the 3D tour.
Right.
Yeah. And of course, there's the crime maps, and there are school reports and all kinds of things that Google Earth, where they can kind of walk down the street virtually. So there's things that can encourage that, especially with the 3D tours that we have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for walking with me on that diversion. Okay, so then they say they like it, and then they move towards application. This is the third step to our vetting.
Yes.
So go ahead.
So I had previously sent them the email with our application link. If they decide to fill it out, complete it, at that point, they have it. So they go ahead and complete the application. At that point, we go through the tenant screening.
Yeah. Now, I'm sorry to interrupt, but is there some times where they need some coaching to complete the application process? Maybe something isn't there?
Yes. We make sure we do have a completed application. And there are some questions, and I always tell them, email me, text me, call me, whatever, if you have any questions, and let me know.
Right.
And we walk through that, and it's usually a painless, situation. So it's not too bad.
Right.
Our application process it's pretty simple. So not too bad.
Good. And so all this comes in, and we're checking out what?
Income verification.
Good.
We need ID. Make sure it's the correct person.
Right. Good.
Rental history. If they have a completed pet application.
Okay.
Then there is also something else. The rental history, I think I mentioned that.
Right, rental history, and then I think there is the credit history, not just credit score, but the credit history, and then background on the criminal history.
Criminal, yes, and eviction proceedings, yes. That would be the tenant screening, I guess.
Right, yeah. That's good. And so the pet application might be a little bit of a surprise for some of the people that are new to property management, or maybe you've been around for property management, the pet application. Could you say basically what that's all about?
Yeah, so basically you give all the information about your pet. The breed, all the information.
Right,
Rabies shots, we need everything about your pet.
Yeah.
Color. And then you're going to be charged a fee for that.
Right.
Pets tend to tear up properties sometimes, so we need that non-refundable pet fee.
Absolutely, yeah. Which is how much?
It's $350 per pet.
Right. Okay.
So that kind of covers us and covers the owners, and if you want to bring a pet, then that's just how we do things.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it's understandable. Pet owners know that there is a price to owning a pet. And it's important for you as owners to have your risk taken care of, because if there is going to be a pet, even if it's not a vicious kind of dog, maybe it's something that a pet that might just take a little more, wear on a property. You want to make sure that we are talking about this pet. We have a picture of that pet. We have a description of that pet. We have medical whatever on that pet, because if a new pet is introduced, that there is no mix-up. There is one pet, and this is the pet.
Right.
Or else there could be liability for the owner in the form of damage.
Absolutely.
In the future. Okay, so so then after you get all that application, I guess you call the owner.
Yes.
Okay, and usually it's a phone call, not other means, right?
Right.
Okay,
right.
so
I like
how
to
does that
speak
call
with
go?
them.
Yeah.
Yes, I like to speak with them.
Yeah.
Again, introduce myself if I haven't talked to them.
Right,
And let them know that we have an application on their property, and give them basically the rundown of the application.
Yeah.
All the information, and let them decide if they think this is a worthy tenant at this point or not.
Right.
I don't know. Some of them have more questions. Some of the owners have more questions than others, and that's understandable. This is their home. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
I try to just give them as much information as possible, and then kind of go from there.
Absolutely. So it's your house, our time.
Yes.
And so it's got to be a good fit for both of us. And the owners sign the leases here, not we as property management. So this has got to work well for you, not just for us. And we want you in the decision-making process. I imagine in how some have more questions than others. A lot of it has to do with maybe one owner is more thorough than another, or maybe some owners are new to the process.
Right.
And they're actually asking for advice on if it's a good idea or not. And yes, we can put ourselves in your shoes and say, well, if it were us, we may or may not rent to this person. So, and then from time to time, there's multiple applications. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Right. So in that world, you get to choose between the best, right? Okay. So right now, how many properties? It changes all the time. Right now, about how long is a property vacant?
I would say on average, less than a month.
Okay, less than a month. Okay,
yes.
Yeah. And I've seen it where in the past it's been, maybe a couple of months, and then here I've seen it too where it's been a week. Sometimes it's a quicker turnover between leases. And then what is usually collected money-wise up front? You mentioned the $350 pet fee.
So there is the pet fee if you have a pet, and then the security deposit, which is 1 month's rent.
Yeah.
And then whatever day that they decide to move in, it's the prorated rent. So the prorated rent, security deposit, and if you have a pet, then a pet fee.
Okay, good. Yeah. And then what do you do to ensure a successful move-in? Because, okay, great. The lease is signed by both parties. By the way, that's done by electronic signature.
Yes, that's correct.
And you arrange all that.
Yes.
So then after everybody's signed, then it's the day of the move-in. So how do you make sure that day is successful?
So contact the tenant, see what time they want to move in. If I'm needing to collect cashier's checks, I meet with them at the property that day. If they have done it online as far as paying, then I just give them the key or the code to the lockbox, and they're able to move in. Prior to that, I need proof of utilities being transferred into their name.
Yeah.
That's a big one. So until they give me that, I can't really move forward with the process. So typically it's pretty quick. They get that to me pretty quickly and make sure they have keys and get moved in.
Yeah, that utility being transferred is important.
It is. It is for sure.
And you owners can see why.
Yes.
Okay, so then you're also in charge of the inspections that are done on each house.
That's correct.
So tell us what each inspection is and how it's different from each other.
Okay, so the move-in inspection, I guess it's kind of the same move-in, move-out. When a tenant moves out, go in, do a thorough inspection. Basically every room, there are several different things in the rooms that we document.
Right.
Then there is a 6-month inspection that we do, mid-lease. Walk in, make it as quick as possible, but also thorough. Take a few pictures, and then I guess the lease renewal, if you're renewing the lease.
Yep.
Like I said, the move-in, move-out's kind of the same.
Yeah, that's the main inspection, and then we have the mid-term inspections and then the renewal inspections that are also done. So what kind of how do you document it? Is there particular software that's used?
Yes, we use Happy Inspector, which it lays everything out for you. It's perfect. It's really the way to go. So you don't miss anything. It has everything out there for you.
Yeah, tell us about what level of detail it can go into, say, on the move-in inspection.
The move-in inspection is very detailed. Like as far as like a bedroom, you're going to get the walls, the floors, the baseboards, the outlets, ceiling, lights, everything.
Right.
Basically the whole room.
Basically, there's 4 walls. You get 4 different pictures of the walls, and then you get a picture of the ceiling, picture of the floor, and so you see fixtures, you see everything that's going on in that room, and you do that for every room in the house. So then that is used for when they move out as well, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the future.
Yes.
So there's also the drive-by inspections, which we drive by every property every month, and we take a photo of the outside. We don't go inside the house because that would be more of an infringement upon their privacy. But sometimes you can tell how property is kept on the inside by just making some quick observations on the outside.
Absolutely.
So, is the grass cut? Is it knee high? Or do they have extra cars parked out front, which might indicate just a visitor, which is fine, but it might also indicate, if we see it multiple times, that we might need to go back inside there and just make sure that there's not an extra tenant living in there, a relative that's decided to come in. So I really like how all the work that you do is, I saw there was a paradox that was given to me recently of when you do a job really well, that it looks easy, and when it looks easy, it looks like anybody could do it, which is a paradox because all that hard work that we did on our end is what made it look easy, and you certainly exemplify that in all the work that you do.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, now let's turn the tables. Now you ask me questions on some of the other ends of the property management stuff.
Okay, so what does the onboarding process look like?
Right, so we meet with the owner and we say, we take a look at the property to make sure it's a good candidate for property management. Some properties are a lot better for property management than others, such as how is the property up to a certain level of maintenance already, and what does the ongoing maintenance of a property look like. So we'll do a review of that, and then we'll also, after we come to an agreement with the owner and everything's signed, we'll get that property on the market pretty quick. One of the things that we like to do is take pictures of all of the appliance model numbers. Now, why is that important to us? Well, we'll talk a little bit more about maintenance here in a few minutes, but sometimes we get a call from a tenant saying, hey, the dishwasher is broken and we need a repairman out there. So we'll get on the computer and we'll look at our software and we'll say, wait a second, this model number indicates that this dishwasher is 18 years old. Instead of a repairman, let's replace it. The repair will cost $100 just for the guy to go out there to figure out what part needs to be done, and another $100 to him to come out again and replace the part. We can replace the whole thing for $350 and then it's new and we don't have to worry about it for a long time. So, and because the older one will have more repairs since it's 18 years old. So yeah, we get those model numbers of all these different appliances because it's really helpful in the long run for us. So then it goes right into where you're advertising the property after we've done all of that. Okay.
All right, great. Well, can you tell us how many years we've actually been in business?
Yeah, so for the sake of videos, since videos stay on for a while, we started in 2008. So Rob Brooks Realty started in 2008, and our first clients were property management clients.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. How many properties do we manage right now?
Okay, now you might correct me on this, but last I checked was 71.
Okay, I think we're maybe closer to 75 now.
Oh, okay.
Maybe,
probably right. And keep in mind, these things fluctuate, and so this is currently. And we have been on a growing trend since 2008, and so there may be more here in the future.
Okay, great. Where do our landlords come from?
Okay, so that's a good follow-up question to how many properties we have. We have not done a lot of billboard advertising or other things talking about how great Rob Brooks Realty Property Management is. Instead, we just have people talking about us. Owners have had a good experience with us, and they start telling other owners, and we get these phone calls of, hey, I heard that your property management is really good. And so that's how we end up growing our business.
Okay, good. And how quick do the owners get paid?
Yeah, so we have a policy of, on our leases, tenants pay on the first business day of every month. And so as soon as that money comes in, it takes a little bit of time for it to clear our accounts so that the money actually shows as having been received. And then as soon as that happens, we send it out. So usually it's by the 7th business day of the month or sooner that an owner gets paid. By the way, I also thought of something of where do the landlords come from in regards to your last question. I want to talk about different kinds of owners that come in. Some of the owners are what we call accidental landlords. Maybe they bought a house here and then had to move away, and then they were looking at, well, what do I do with this house? Do I sell it, or do I do a property management? Well, suppose you have a really good interest rate on that house, you might decide, well, I'm going to keep this house and I can rent it for much more than what my mortgage payment is, and so I'll just keep that as an investment. Not only does the rent sometimes be more than the mortgage payment, but also it's appreciating. The rents continue going up over the years, and the price of the house continues going up. So it's a good built-in investment. So a lot of our clients are military. I'd say the majority, if not the vast majority, of our clients are military who have moved into this area and moved out, and we've kept their property and kept them running good. We do have some investors who have several properties with us, and I'd say most of them, though, that we service are first-time landlords. So sorry to digress on that.
No, that's great. So as far as communication goes, how often do we communicate with the owners?
Yeah, so we communicate once a month, at least. We'll give a picture of, okay, here's the picture that we took of your property on the outside, and then also your money was sent, and make sure that it hit your account, and just other incidentals that come in. So sometimes phone calls too when there's some maintenance issues to take care of.
All right, great. So they're always in the know of what's going on.
Yeah,
so,
right. As much as they want to know.
Right.
A lot of times the owner will just say, yeah, y'all take care of it, and they never look at our emails. That's fine. And then others, they want to open that email as soon as it comes in, and they want to see what's the status of their property. Great, either way.
Yeah, good. What is involved in maintaining the property?
Yeah, so the maintenance of the property is probably one of our biggest time takers, which is great. We're paid for this. So the call comes in on maybe the hot water heater is not heating. By the way, when that call comes in, it is not at a convenient time for the tenant or for us. Oftentimes it might be at night or 7 a.m. or over the weekend, and they're saying, my hot water heater doesn't work, and I gotta get a hot shower because I'm supposed to go to work, and you guys need to fix this right now, 30 minutes right now. And of course, you know, they're excited. They're making some demands or suggestions that don't even make sense. But it's our job to calm down the situation and provide a solution. So in that situation, a lot of times, Michael Gregg, who does such a great job with all the day-to-day property management stuff, he'll come in with saying something like, okay, I'm really sorry that this has happened to you. Let's see if we can work towards getting this done. And they'll say, yeah, because I really got to get to work right now. And you guys got to, I say, yes, I understand. By the way, have you checked the breaker box and checked to see if the breaker by chance switched? And the tenant says, what? And so we ask a few questions ahead of time because we want to save the owners some money. Maybe we can save that $100 appliance repairman fee by just check. So then they go to the breaker box, and if it is the breaker, then they just flip that switch while Michael's on the phone, and then problem solved. We just saved the owner some money.
Right.
But every once in a while, yes, it's a problem where that is going to require a repairman. So maybe it needs an element and it's only going to be a $200 fix. Well, we're going to go ahead and tell that appliance repair person while they're out there, fix it. We're not going to call you because it's something that needs to be done right then. It's only $200, and we're going to say go ahead and go for that. But if it is a replace the hot water heater, is because the thing's too old and it has to be done, then we're going to give you a call. And we're going to say, hey, the hot water heater has to be replaced. We've checked around and we found that this one is a good value. It can be installed for this cost. And the contractor is reliable. He's done a good job in taking care of us in the past. So you give the okay, and then we get that put in.
Okay. All right. Well, while we're on maintenance here,
yeah.
Can you tell me about the contractors and the vendors that we use?
Absolutely. So we have bonded and insured contractors and vendors because we want to make sure that there's no risk for you as a owner. So these people have had a history with Rob Brooks Realty in doing certain things for us. One is they've been honest with us. Two, they've done good work for us. And three, they charge a fair price.
Right.
Good vendors are really difficult to find in today's environment. We just have a shortage of good workers in our area right now, which is a major problem when it comes to construction or into remodeling or into getting something fixed. So for us, we're very fortunate to have a team of people who do a great job in that. They're all independent contractors. We don't have them directly employed by us for the reason of we don't want there to be any kind of favors or anything like that, just completely above board. These people have been chosen in the market because of how they conduct themselves. Okay.
And I think you mentioned a little bit earlier about as far as paying the vendors and things, but can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we have a limit on when we call you as owner as to how much we're going to do, which is $350. So if it's below that, we're going to tell the vendor, just go ahead and do it because we don't want them to charge another fee to come back out after a decision has been made. And then we also have where this is not necessarily something I'm intending to go over in the video, but I think it's helpful for owners. We have where we pay those vendors immediately. So in this environment where vendors are very hard to find, they tend to gravitate towards doing business for people who get them the money fast.
Right.
So they do a job, we pay them fast, and not a month later, we pay them then. And then that way they say, okay, we want to do business with Rob Brooks Realty. We call a plumber and we say, hey, we're having a problem over at such and such property, and maybe they're backed up a week, but then they know, this is Rob Brooks Realty. Maybe we can get to this tomorrow. Right. And so it helps our owners a lot in our quickness to pay.
Okay, great. We've talked a little bit about how we really like to accommodate our owners, but why do you think maintaining good tenant relationships is important?
Yeah, so important because the tenants are staying in your property. We want them to like us. Maybe better, not necessarily buddy, but just to where they respect us and they appreciate us. Invariably, a tenant will, they'll have some issue come up, and we have to speak some truth to that tenant. They might say, I just had a family member die, and my spouse just lost their job. Is it okay if we pay a little bit late, or can we have a reduced amount this month until we find the next job? Our job as property owners is to say, we're sorry to hear about your loss. No, you've got to pay on time. We have owners that we take care of, and it's our job to take care of them. That's a hard truth to a tenant, but we've got to take care of our owners. And if for the owners out there who try to do property management themselves, this is a very tough thing for them, because that question goes directly to them. And it's tough to tell a person no. Well, for us in property management, it's our job to tell them no. And it's not cruel or heartless. They can get charity from somebody else, their mother, or whatever church, but they don't need to get charity from you as owners.
Okay, all right. Well, let's talk about the process of negotiating a lease.
Oh, right, yeah. So when we have, especially the lease renewal, so the lease is preset. We have our price that we do. But the lease renewal is where it often can change a little bit, because the market changes. So the market might go up or down, and normally up. And so we check to see, what does the market show that it's currently at for that neighborhood, for that house in that neighborhood. And then we contact the owner and the tenant about 3 or 4 weeks in advance. Actually 4 weeks, I remember, is what we do, maybe even 5. But we contact them and say, hey, do you want to renew the lease? And this is what the price would be if we renew. Both agree, then we have a 1-pager form that just says, okay, we agreed to renew the lease at this price. Everybody signs, and we keep going. By the way, we do no lease renewal fee. That's some companies charge that, we don't.
Okay. And how are the deposits handled?
Yeah, so deposits, when they come in, they're held in a non-interest bearing separate account from all other monies. So all the deposits are kept in this one account of Rob Brooks Realty, which cannot be touched by the landlord, the owner of the property, the tenant, or by us as a company until that lease ends. When that lease ends, then we take a look at the any damages that may have done. So your thorough inspections that happen both before and after the tenant. We look at the before and after, and we see, okay, are there more scuffs on the walls than there were at the beginning, or is there any other kind of damage? And we start deducting from that. We always hope that we don't have to deduct anything, that we can just give the entire deposit back to the tenant, but sometimes that doesn't happen. Certain unacceptable wear has happened, and so then that is deducted. We give the money back to the tenant, and then we give any money that is collected for repairs to the owner.
Okay, great. And now to the fun stuff. How many evictions have we had, and how are those handled?
Right, yeah. Yeah, so the evictions, everybody has these nightmare stories. We have been very, very fortunate. And since we started in 2008, that's 16 years ago, we've only had 2 evictions for our company.
Yeah.
And I attribute that a lot to our thorough vetting process, as well as God's grace. Not that we deserved it, but just God decided to smile on us by having very, very few evictions. And evictions are paid for by Rob Brooks Realty. We have attorneys that, if that ever happens, that we take care of that cost.
Okay, great. And what do you provide the owners for tax purposes?
Yeah, so tax time every year, we provide the a report of what your income was and what the expenses were for your property, and then that makes it easy for either you or your accountant to just transfer it over to the appropriate IRS form.
Okay, great. I think that's all the questions I have.
All right, well, good. Well, you've done a great job
Thank
interviewing
you.
me,
Yeah,
and
thank
it
you.
was fun to interact with you as owners. I just, if you have questions on any of this, of course, that's what we're here for. You give us a call and we can talk more about it. I'm Rob, and this is Mandy of Rob Brooks Realty.